Hi again then guys, and welcome to another look back to the first game in the Forza Horizon franchise, to another vehicle which, funnily enough, both in the real world and in the game, is a car which I don't understand why it didn't go further, because as far as Forza games go, this is the only Forza game to feature this car, the Ford GTX1 concept, which is of course the open-top concept version of the Ford GT. Widely loved car, incredibly quick, great tuning potential as well, not just in games but in the real world as well. And this is such an obvious choice. Why wouldn't you make an open-top version of a Ford GT? Especially given how good it looks without a roof. Look at this thing, it looks incredible. I have a soft spot for any car that has buttresses behind the seats as well, like the CLK GTR Roadster or this one. I think it looks absolutely fantastic when cars have that. It gives it that kind of almost homologated GT1 car slash speedster kind of look to it. I think it looks fantastic. Personally, I wish Celine had made a car with buttresses and an open top, or that version of a Celine S7, a Celine S7 Roadster. They never did though, and funnily enough, Ford didn't make this one either. They did as a concept, of course, that's why it's here, but never on a production scale. Maybe ultimately Ford decided that wasn't the right thing for the brand or for the model. I mean, clearly that's what they decided, but the reasons I haven't fully looked into. But I think it's a shame, because if one thing's for certain, it would have sold. Because people love the Ford GT, and I guarantee they would have sold out if they made an open-top version of this car, just like they would if they made an open-top version of the new one, the 2017, although I'm not so sure how good that car would look without a roof. Not bad, but not necessarily as good as this one. Now, in terms of performance, you would assume that it would be at least on par with the coupe in terms of power and torque, but probably a little bit heavier. That is the case. This isn't like Pagani, where they sometimes make the Roadsters a little bit better or a little bit more special, or the aforementioned Mercedes CLK GTR Roadster, which is even more exclusive than the open top. Not the case with this one. It is more exclusive, of course, there's only one, but the power, for instance, is the same. 550 horsepower from that supercharged 5.4 litre V8. 500 pound-feet of torque, and it weighs 1,588 kilos, which is actually still quite good. That's not overly heavy, given that they had to reinforce the car to make up, of course, for the lack of a roof, and the horsepower per tonne is just under 350, which is decent enough for a car that doesn't have an insane amount of power to begin with. Now, the class is A600 for this particular one, and the price is quite good. It's a little bit more than the coupe, which you'd expect it to be. The coupe tends to be about 130 grand, 150 grand, that kind of region on most games actually, Forza and Gran Turismo. This one is 188, so probably what you'd expect, about 30 or 40 grand more. That makes sense, but it also means it's still a really well priced car. In fact, the Ford GT alongside the Nissan GTR are among the only cars that can even come close to the value for money and performance for money, even more so, that the Ultima offers. Now, the Ultima is a name that I often drop in Forza videos because it's pretty much the benchmark of affordable performance in the Forza games. In fact, in some ways it's even better than the Nissan GTR at doing that, because although it costs a bit more, it's an even faster car, an even more competitive one, basically like a combination of Can-Am car and Le Mans car for the road. It's a superb vehicle, so if you can even remotely compare something else to that, it's impressive. And I would compare this car to the Ultima GTR, because although it's not as quick or as affordable, it does offer that same kind of package of great tuning potential, a really good base car already, but for a good price. This one that you can see me driving here is lightly modified. I've upgraded the power. I believe I dropped the weight a little bit as well, if memory serves, but that's about it. I didn't really do that much. As far as how it handles, how it performs, well, that more than anything else is far more similar to the coupe than most other supercar or super sports car open tops would be. Many of them do vary. They're even entirely different models, in some cases like the Ferrari 430 Scuderia 16M, which has different specs, or also in the game, the Lamborghini Performante version of the Gallardo Spider. They are genuinely different, not just open tops. This one that's not really the case. It is basically a Ford GT with the roof cut off. And that's great, because it doesn't need to be any different. It's already a great car, and the fact that it doesn't have quite as much power has never really mattered in the Ford GT, because what it does with the power that it's got has always been very impressive. Even in the real world, it's already a 205 mph car, 0 to 60, about 3.8, so close to like Carrera GT territory, earlier Zonda territory, even SLR McLaren territory. So it's more than capable enough, especially given that often it's got about 50 to 70 horsepower less than many of those cars which I mentioned. Now in the game, I never used to see a huge amount of people using this car, which kind of surprises me, but I guess many people just go for the coupe because first of all you don't expect there to be an open-top version of this, but also if you have the option of the coupe it would probably seem to be the better choice, and technically speaking that is true. It's a little bit lighter for instance, but overall this is most definitely one of the standouts, I would say, of the Forza Horizon game. Definitely a car that's worth checking out, worth giving a look, and worth giving your time to, because regardless of whether or not you upgrade the power, give it great performance, which it can certainly have, or just use it as something for the fun of driving, it offers the exact same great points that the coupe version offers, which is very strong. It's a great car, but it just adds another level of exclusivity and I would say desirability, and of course that's purely down to if you like open tops or not. That's totally down to personal preference. For me personally, I do. And I also love about this car as well, one little detail which you can do to your Ford GT, but they don't have it as standard out of the factory, and that is that it doesn't have the rear bumper. Just like the original GT concept didn't. If you look at the back end of the road car, the coupe, and compare it to this, it's got this massive, I think absolutely hideous looking bumper sticking out of the back end, which of course it's obvious why it's there, but it just looks awful. This one, it's smooth, it's clean, much closer to a GT40 in terms of its shape because of that deletion of the bumper, and I think it looks fantastic. As I said, I love the buttresses as well, so that just seals the deal for me. But overall, definitely worth checking out if you do go back to the game, and it's a great performance car, just like the coupe is. As far as returning, well, I don't think it's going to come back anytime soon, but I would be happy if it did. Overall, that's it for this particular pick though. Of course, I'll see you guys next time, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.